Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. Israel's military encourages Rafah residents to evacuate as it prepares for a limited scope operation to dismantle Hamas. Talks in Cairo make little to no progress. Preparations underway in full swing for the third phase of the elections in India, the world's largest democratic exercise. 93 seats across 12 states and union territories set for polling on Tuesday. Chinese President Xi Jinping is in France on a state visit, his first visit to Europe in 5 years. The two P5 countries are celebrating 60 years of diplomatic ties. And Indian men and women's 4 x 400 meters relay teams qualify for the Paris Olympics after impressive performances at the World Athletics. India now boasts 19 track and field athletes for Paris. Israel has called on Palestinian civilians to evacuate Rafah as part of a limited scope operation. The Israel Defense Forces, they have said that they have expanded a humanitarian area in Al-Mawasi to accommodate the increased levels of aid flowing into Gaza. They've added also that an ongoing situation assessment will guide the gradual movement of civilians to the humanitarian area. Earlier, Israel launched a counter-strike on Rafah after 3 Israeli soldiers were killed in a Hamas attack near the Palestinian city. Speaking to his U.S. counterpart, Lloyd Austin, the Israeli Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant, linked the Rafah operation to deadlock in talks, which he blamed on Hamas. And Gallant told Austin that Hamas has refused the frameworks at hand, and he added that military action in Rafah is required due to the lack of an alternative. This comes after the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejected Hamas's demand of complete Israeli withdrawal in exchange for the release of hostages. Well, DD India's Sarah Coates now joins us live from Tel Aviv with an update on the story. Sarah, what are the reasons for the talks in Cairo failing?
Hello there, Mark. Well, this is really the same thing that we've been seeing time and time again with all of these ceasefire and hostage negotiations, and that is differences over the end to the war. Hamas wanted a full, comprehensive ceasefire. It was ruling out any kind of operations, further operations like down in the southern Gazan city of Rafah, where Israel has been saying time and time again that it would not stop the war, leaving Hamas in power, saying that this will continue and an operation in Rafah will go ahead, with the Israelis of the belief that the last 4 Hamas battalions are actually stationed there, and potentially the leaders of Hamas in the Gaza Strip like Yahya Sinwar. So what we can tell you, though, is that even though these talks appear to have broken down, we do know that the CIA director, Bill Burns, is in Doha today for talks with the Qatari Prime Minister. They are really trying to revitalise this deal, but certainly it does appear now that due to this potential operation that we may see in the very, very near future down in Rafah, that this may actually see these talks stall. But certainly there is still a little bit of hope that this could actually be revived. But at this hour, it certainly does seem as though these talks have broken down, Mark.
Sarah, what plans does the IDF have to evacuate civilians who are refusing to move in Rafah?
Well, the IDF is right now airdropping leaflets and also publishing maps as to where these people should go. We do believe that a ground operation down into the eastern part of Rafah could be imminent. The IDF has been telling these people, around 100,000 people, that it will be operating with force against these Hamas battalions that they do believe are stationed there, telling people to go to Al-Mawasi, which is on the coastline down in the southern part of Gaza, and also to go to Khan Yunis. Now, we do understand that the military is calling these humanitarian zones, but according to numerous sources on the ground, there is absolute chaos among these internally displaced Palestinians that have been sheltering in Rafah. We do need to remember that this is a place that was previously declared a safe zone by the IDF, and these people on the ground say there is simply nowhere safe for them to go. Now, one other thing we do need to remember, Mark, is a lot of these people down there, the majority of them really, they do not have any mode of transport to actually move to these so-called humanitarian areas. So it will be a very difficult task logistically to get some 100,000 people out and to get them out quickly amid fears that this Israeli operation could be imminent. So certainly chaos on the ground. People are very frightened. They're scared. They don't know where to go. And as I mentioned, they believe that nowhere on the ground is safe right now.
Sarah Coates in Tel Aviv, thanks very much. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet has voted unanimously to close the Qatari television network Al Jazeera's operations in the country. This comes after the Israeli parliament passed a law allowing the temporary closure in Israel of foreign broadcasters considered to be a threat to national security during its conflict with Hamas. According to a report, Israeli authorities raided the Jerusalem hotel room used by Al Jazeera as its office after the shutdown order. And on to another conflict now, the Ukrainian drones. They've attacked on 2 buses taking people to work and killed 6 people and injured another 35 in the Belgorod region of Russia. The governor, Vyacheslav Gladkov, said that the attack took place near the village of Berezovka. The windows of the buses were blown away and a person was injured seriously and 2 children had superficial injuries as well. Belgorod region has been repeatedly attacked by Ukrainian artillery and drones. Russia has said that it's going to hold a military exercise that will include the practice of the use of tactical nuclear weapons on Monday. The military drills will include practice for the preparation and deployment of the use of non-strategic nuclear weapons. The ministry said that the exercise is aimed at ensuring Russia's territorial integrity and sovereignty in response to provocative statements and threats by certain Western officials against the Russian Federation. And Dasha Chernyshova joins us for more from Moscow on this story. Well, Dasha, is Russia conducting practice on tactical nuclear weapons? What's the official position?
Well, that's right. We've heard the confirmation from the Russian Ministry of Defense that Russia's General Staff is now preparing for the drills that will include the practice for the use of the tactical nuclear weapons. On Monday, the Ministry of Defense said that that would be happening on the orders of the Russian President Vladimir Putin, who is expected to be inaugurated for his 5th term as president of the country on Tuesday. Now, we understand that the drills will involve the use of the military units from the southern military district, the use of aviation as well as naval forces, and it is aimed, according to the Ministry of Defense statement, at ensuring Russia's territorial integrity and sovereignty. All that is happening against the backdrop of the sour ties between Moscow and the West, and the Russian Ministry of Defense says that is happening in response to the provocative statements that Moscow has heard from the Western countries, from the Western officials. So Moscow has been saying long before before that Moscow is monitoring all of the statements coming from the Western countries. And most recently, Moscow has said it has recorded an escalation in the rhetoric regarding the West's participation and involvement into the conflict in Ukraine.
Also, Dasha, drone attacks from both sides have increased. Has the Russian military taken any official position on this?
Well, indeed, we have heard again about the drone attacks against Russian regions, particularly those that are close to the border with Ukraine. In Belgorod, the governor of the region, Vyacheslav Gladkov, has confirmed that 7 people have been killed on Monday morning as a result of the Ukrainian attack against 2 buses that were carrying people to work. That was an agro complex, and 40 people have been injured, 30 have been taken to hospital, including 2 children, and 6 have died on spot immediately. That is because of that attack. But hours after, the governor said there was another drone attack at the same location. So obviously, we are seeing more and more attacks by the Ukrainian drones against the Russian border regions, but also deeper inside the Russian territory. Moscow is saying that those attacks are taking place because of the Ukrainian failures on the battlefield, so that the Ukrainian authorities have an opportunity to show to the Western countries that they do have an opportunity to fight. But Moscow insists that it is on the front foot when it comes to the fighting in Ukraine.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Dasha Chernyshova from Moscow. A drone attack from Russia disrupted power for over 400,000 people in parts of Ukraine's northeast Sumy region following Kiev's announcement that its air defense forces intercepted 12 attack drones overnight. Efforts to restore power persisted into the morning, with 91 settlements still affected out of 1,325 in the region. Chinese President Xi Jinping is in Paris on a rare visit against a backdrop of mounting trade disputes with the European Union. The French President Emmanuel Macron is said to urge Xi to reduce trade imbalances and to use his influence with Russia over the war in Ukraine. Xi is due to meet Macron and the European Commission chief Ursula von der Leyen on Monday. One of Macron's key objectives is to caution Xi Jinping against supporting Russia in its offensive in Ukraine. Western officials are concerned about the potential Chinese involvement in supplying arms to Russia, which could further destabilize the conflict. Macron emphasized the necessity of working with China to safeguard the stability of the international border. Von der Leyen said that she will press for fair competition with China in talks with Xi Jinping. And still to come here on DD India News Hour. The Philippines and the US repelled mock foreign invaders in annual military exercises. The Australian airline Qantas agrees to pay $66 million in penalties for selling tickets on cancelled flights. And worldwide participation from 169 countries in the Wings for Life World Run.
Hype versus facts. In-depth news and analysis with experts who will help you decide why this election matters. DD India is the main election headquarters with numbers most accurate, data most reliable, and viewership across the platforms. Stay tuned to the Great Indian Election only on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. The US and Filipino military personnel sank 5 floating pontoons, They were meant to represent amphibious landing ships during their annual Balikatan exercises, which took place near Philippines' northern waters on Monday. This demonstration is part of an annual drill, and it showcased military strength and symbolized solidarity between the two nations amid regional tensions in the South China Sea. The military drills, involving around 16,000 Filipino and American troops, will continue until May the 10th. And Laura Westbrook now tells us more from Hong Kong.
We are seeing tensions rise in this important strategic area. With just last week, there were clashes between the Chinese Coast Guards and the Philippine Coast Guard, with the Philippine Coast Guard saying that the Chinese Coast Guard had used water cannon against one of its vessels for the first time. And we have seen increasing clashes in the South China Sea, where the Philippines accuses China of blocking its resupply missions in the area. China says that it is simply defending its territory and that it was the Philippines that has been infringing on its sovereignty. China claims most of the South China Sea, that is despite competing claims and an international legal ruling. And with these drills, we are seeing, the United States increasingly coming behind its key ally, the Philippines. The Philippines has become more, under the leadership of President Marcos, more responsive to these drills. It's China that's actually infringing on its territory. And we are also, the fear though, is that with these increasingly combative encounters between the Philippines and China, that the fear for the region and indeed for the world, that these could escalate even further.
Meanwhile, the Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. stated on Monday that the country would refrain from using water cannons or any offensive weaponry in the South China Sea. Clarifying that Manila had no plans to equip vessels with water cannons, Marcos emphasized the importance of avoiding actions that could escalate tensions in the vital waterway. Now, last week, Manila had protested Beijing's use of water cannons that we are seeing on our screen against Filipino vessels at a disputed shoal in the South China Sea, condemning it as harassment and dangerous maneuvers. Flash floods continue to persist in southern Brazil. The death toll mounts to at least 78 in Rio Grande do Sul. The number of casualties could still substantially increase, as 105 people are reportedly missing on Sunday. Persistent downpours, they have triggered landslides and partial collapse of a dam. Flooding has affected more than 2/3 of the mostly 500 cities in that state. Storms in Texas brought additional rain on Sunday to the already saturated Houston area, where hundreds of people have been rescued. Most of the weekend's rain fell over western and central Texas, but there was a significant chance of heavier rain by Monday morning. The Met Office predicted 4 to 8 inches of rain in some areas. Houston is one of the most flood-prone metro regions in the country, and in fact, the city of more than 2 million people has long experienced devastating weather. Hurricane Harvey in 2017 dumped historic rainfall that flooded thousands of homes and resulted in more than 60,000 rescues by the government personnel across Harris County. Schools in Bangladesh reopened on Sunday, and classes were continuing over the weekend after a searing heat wave a week ago had suspended their classes as the country witnessed a surge in temperature to over 40 degrees Celsius, which was very high for Bangladesh. Bangladesh has wavered over reopening schools for 33 million students to prepare students for exams, even as the worst heat wave in 7 decades continues. Many people have died across the region, and experts have warned that the heat could exacerbate inequalities, widen a learning gap between the developing and developed nations in the tropics. In India, heat wave conditions are likely to abate over East India from today and over South Peninsula region from Tuesday onwards. The Meteorological Department has predicted a fresh heat wave, however, over the western parts of India, including Gujarat, Rajasthan and West Madhya Pradesh in the next 5 days. The northeast of India will witness heavy rainfall. This will be over northeast India till Tuesday. The Indian origin astronaut Sunita Williams and her fellow veteran NASA astronaut Butch Wilmore, they are set to fly to the International Space Station on a brand new spacecraft, the Boeing Starliner, on Monday. The launch is scheduled at 10:34 p.m. ETD at Cape Canaveral Space Station in Florida, and the flight test will carry astronauts to the space station for a week to test Starliner spacecraft before NASA certifies transportation systems for rotational missions. The flight, if it succeeds, will become the second private firm being able to provide crew transport to and from the ISS. Let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. The 3 tourists who are reported missing in Mexico, in the Baja California region last week, they have been declared dead after their parents had identified their bodies. The bodies were found dumped in a well by the authorities. 3 people have been arrested so far. The Australian airline Qantas Airways has agreed to pay a penalty of $66 million to settle a lawsuit regarding illegal selling of tickets for cancelled flights. The Federal Court of Australia is yet to approve this penalty. The lawsuit was filed in August of last year. The 11th edition of the Wings for Life World Run saw the participation of 265,818 people across 169 countries on Sunday. With 345 starting points set across the globe, this edition made a new single-year record of gathering €8,104,499 in funds, which will be used for research and trials to find a cure for spinal cord injury. Pop star Madonna closed her celebration tour with a concert at Rio's Copacabana beach in Brazil. A strict stop and search was conducted by the police ahead of the concert, and more than 100 sharp objects were seized at various checkpoints. 3 people were apprehended by the state military police for carrying weapons and drugs. Eurotunnel, the world's longest undersea channel, it's celebrating its 30th anniversary. The Channel Tunnel opened in May 1994 and connects Kent, which is in southern England, to Calais, which is in northern France, underneath the seabed of the English Channel. The 31-mile journey takes just 35 minutes, and it's much quicker than taking a ferry or even a plane to the neighboring country. Nearby, in fact, every year, about 10 million people use what's called the channel. The channel and the tunnel mixed together every year, the channel. Panama's former security minister, Jose Raul Mulino, on Monday stormed to victory in the country's presidential poll. It was based on preliminary results. Mulino will take office on July 1 for a 5-year term. Mulino was one of the favorites for the presidency after he stepped in to replace Martinelli on the ballot when the former president was in fact barred from running because of a money laundering conviction. Mulino was declared winner, having secured about 34% of the ballots tallied with 90% of the total vote counted. Ricardo Lombana, who trailed in second place, had about 25% of the vote, and congratulated Molina on the victory.
We have an unpayable public debt. I send a message to our international creditors. This country will honor its debt, and we will work to pay it and restructure it, always leaving the name of Panama on high, honoring all our creditors. In my government, there is no demagoguery.
People in Chad go to the polls on Monday, 3 years after their military leader seized power in the first presidential election in Africa's Sahel region since a wave of coups. Mohamed Idris Deby, who seized power the day rebels killed his long-ruling father Idris Deby in April of 2021, has promised to bolster security, strengthen the rule of law and increase electricity production. Monday's vote pits Deby against the Prime Minister. Success Masra is the name of the Prime Minister, previously a political opponent who fled into exile in 2022 but was allowed to come back a year later. Also running are the former Prime Minister Albert Pahimi Padake and 7 other candidates. The vote, in fact, coincides with a temporary withdrawal of US troops from Chad, an important Western ally in the region of the West and Central Africa, courted by Russia. Some 8.5 million people registered to vote. The provisional results are expected by May 21 and the final results by June 5. As India heads for the third phase of the general election on May 7, Uttar Pradesh's Agra leather industry faces survival issues that weigh on the voters' minds as they prepare to go out and vote on Tuesday. Amritpal Singh reports.
While Agra is famous for its World Heritage Site of Taj Mahal, the city's shoe industry is one of the largest leather clusters in the country. Even today, the unique shoes and other leather products from the city continue to allure both locals and tourists. The shoes manufactured here are sold both domestically and exported globally. However, according to small-scale industrialists in the area, the leather and shoe manufacturing industries are facing survival issues. And that is what is weighing most on their minds as they mull over who to vote for. They say it's not caste or community considerations, but who will address the issues being faced by this centuries-old leather industry.
We didn't get good quality leather due to high price of rates with compared to foreign leather or foreign suppliers or exporters. So we need a right leather with appropriate price. So we can fight with all over India with the good price.
I do expect for the policymaker just to stop the Chinese market to involve in India, so that our survivors, respect our labor and our raw material, we should overcome. We should get a growth in our industry as a shoe industry.
For the youth, what matters most is jobs and employment issues.
See, we are expecting these newly elected MPs to, make some amendments so that this industry looks lucrative to younger generations, looks better to younger generations who want to make a difference in this industry.
Agra is one of the 10 parliamentary constituencies that go to polls in the third phase of elections on Tuesday.
The leather industry of Agra is said to be as old as the Mughals. It started in the Mughal era and continues till now. But this industry has its own set of challenges. Both the manufacturers and the workers say there is a dire need for the government to step in and save this industry, which employs over 4 lakh people here in Agra alone. With cameraman Yogesh Kumar, this is Amritpal Singh for DD India in Agra.
And still to come here on DD India News Hour. We'll be touching base with our reporters who are tracking updates on the great Indian election. Enforcement Directorate seizes cash of over 200 million rupees from associates of a Jharkhand minister, Alamgir Alam.
Has reached pole-bound Jammu Kashmir, the Union Territory of India, located in the northern part of the Indian subcontinent.
The food is very nice. I think the people rightly say Switzerland of India.
कश्मीर खूबसूरत है, जनता बहुत कोऑपरेटिव है, वोट देने से कश्मीर का मुस्तकबिल बदल जाएगा.
Election शा जरूरी?
Election जरूरी
These elections here are considered very critical and important and significant because they are the first ones being held post abrogation of Article 370. Lok Sabha elections 2024 are the most significant elections that the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir has witnessed in decades, free from the fear of terror, conflict, stone pelting, guns, hartals and much more.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Here's a recap of our main stories. Israel's military encourages Rafah residents to evacuate as it prepares for a limited scope operation to dismantle Hamas. Talks in Cairo make little to no progress. Preparations underway in full swing for the third phase of the elections in India, the world's largest democratic exercise. 93 seats across 12 states and union territories set for polling on Tuesday. Chinese President Xi Jinping is in France on a state visit, his first visit to Europe in 5 years. The two P5 countries are celebrating 60 years of diplomatic ties. Indian men and women's 400 meter relay teams qualify for the Paris Olympics with impressive performances at the World Athletics. Now India boasts of 19 track and field athletes going to Paris. Let's get you the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. The third phase of Lok Sabha elections 2024 will be held on Tuesday, the 7th of May, with voters in 93 constituencies across 10 states and 1 union territory going to the polls. Elaborate arrangements are in place, with polling parties being dispatched to their respective polling stations ahead of the polls. All 25 seats in Gujarat, 14 seats in Karnataka, 11 seats in Maharashtra, 10 seats in Uttar Pradesh and a union territory of Dadar and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu will go to the polls in this phase. As many as 1,351 candidates are in the fray for the third phase of polls, and the fate of many of these important leaders as well, including the Union Home Minister Amit Shah, the rebel BJP leader K.S. Ishwarappa, the Union Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia, the SP's Dimple Yadav, the former Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan and the NCP SCP leader Supriya Sule will be sealed in the ballot boxes. And in fact, as Assam's parliamentary elections near their climax, anticipation brews over 4 pivotal constituencies, Barpeta, Dhubri, Kokrajhar and Guwahati. Here's Tapas Bhattacharya with more.
Get ready for the final showdown in Assam's Lok Sabha election. On May 7th, the last phase of the voting will take place. The battleground is set and the contenders are gearing up for a fierce competition in the 4 Lok Sabha constituency, Barpeta, Dhubri, Kokrajhar and Guwahati. In Barpeta, a 3-corner battle awaits at CPIM's Munranjan Talukdar, AGP's Phanibhushan Chaudhary and Congress Deep Bayan vie for victory. With each candidate bringing their unique vision to the table, the stakes are high. Over in Dhubri, it's a triangular contest heating up the political landscape. Will All India Democratic Front's chief Badruddin Ajmal secure his 4th consecutive term, or will Congress MLA Rakibul Hussain or NDA nominee Javed Islam emerge victorious? The voters hold the power to decide. Meanwhile, in Kokrajhar, the battle lines are drawn between NDA's United People's Party Liberal nominee Jayant Basumatri, Congress Garjan Mosharari and Bodoland People's Party Front Kampa Borgarari. Who will win the heart and minds of the people in this diverse constituency? That remains to be seen. And last but not the least, all eyes are on Guwahati, where BJP's Bijuli Kalita Medhi and Congress Meerabau Thakur Goswami go head-to-head in a direct showdown. Who will emerge victorious and claim the seat in this crucial constituency? With 47 candidates vying for just 4 Lok Sabha seats, every vote counts. Stay tuned as we bring you live coverage and update from the final phase of the election on May 7th. With camera person Naveen, this is Tapash Bhattacharya for DD India from Assam.
And we are joined by DD India correspondent Amritpal Singh. He is joining us from Sambal in Uttar Pradesh. Gautam Roy is in Murshidabad in West Bengal, and Meghna Dev is in Ahmedabad in Gujarat. Thanks very much for being with us. Amritpal, what preparations have been made, to provide a hassle-free voting experience for the voters? After all, it's really hot at this time of the year.
Okay, Mark, I'll request you to, I'll answer your question and then I have to move because, where I am, I have to move from here. Well, preparations have been made in place. About 2 lakh security personnel have been called. Both Uttar Pradesh police from different parts of the different districts of Uttar Pradesh, as well as Central Reserve Forces, have been called to conduct elections. The polling parties have already reached the polling booths. Some of them are reaching from the nodal points. Voter assistance booths have been set up where block level officers, BLOs, have been appointed to help voters if they face any kind of difficulties. And also, for senior citizens, ramps, etc., have been constructed. Officials have been appointed to help people to find out what kind of, to find their names in the rolls, to help them, to assist them, find their particular polling booths and rooms where they have to go and vote within the polling booth. Also, there is a complete ban on campaigning. Monitoring teams have been put in. The security personnel are checking hotels, dharamshalas, etc., to see that no outsiders are here. The district borders of these 10 constituencies have been sealed, and any outsiders, any outside vehicles coming in are being stopped and checked. Mark.
Okay, let's move across to Meghna, who's in Ahmedabad. Meghna, the whole state is going to the polls in this phase, in one phase. What are the numbers of polling personnel involved? Give us an idea of the size and scale of this election.
Yes, absolutely. When we actually have about 4.94 lakh voters, over 4.94 lakh voters here in Gujarat, while 25 seats out of the 26 are going to the polls. There are elaborate preparations made at polling stations. About 182 model polling booths have been made. We have Sakhi polling booths, which will be completely managed by women. We also have, all the polling booths compliant, Divyang friendly. We also have some Divyang polling stations as well. Besides, having said that, because of the scorching heat, because of the rise in temperature, the collector office here in Ahmedabad has also decided that they will be providing some extra kits to the officials who will be there on the polling day, that is tomorrow. They will be getting 3 extra kits, which will include a kit, a hygiene kit, as well as a medical kit, because in case of any emergency. There are also some arrangements like shedding, tenting that has been done so that people don't have to stand in direct sunlight when they are in the queue. There has also been waiting areas made where people can sit and wait for their turn so that they can get in the queue and then vote. Also, in some places, parking arrangements have been made so that people who come with their own vehicles can probably park there and then vote. Besides, having said all of that, water facility has also been provided everywhere, so that because in the summer it is very difficult. Besides, many people are also saying that they will want to vote in the early morning hours, so they would probably go and vote then. We have been speaking to a number of voters, especially first-time voters, who are very excited that they will be having their right to vote for the first time.
Yes,
they're very excited, but most of them we will be seeing the visuals coming in from the first half itself.
Let's go across to Gautam in West Bengal. Gautam, to what extent has the culture of political violence, which comes usually around an election in West Bengal, come to an end? And what preparations have been made to ensure a high voter turnout?
But if you go by, Mark, what's been happening the past few days, and if you even track back to last year, the three-tier panchayat elections, the culture of violence in West Bengal is nowhere near a thing of the past. Just the last few days, a lot of crude bombs have been found in Murshidabad itself by the police and destroyed. There have been reports of some clashes as well. And we spoke to the DM of Murshidabad, who's also the district election officer, and he said that they made the best kind of arrangements that could be made given the circumstances and the resources at their hand, and they hope that there will be a peaceful poll tomorrow. As you know, 4 seats are going to polls in this phase in West Bengal in phase 3. That's Murshidabad, where I am, and you can see this is a polling station here. There are already some security personnel deployed here, which is a standard practice for elections in India. That's what you'll see every time just a day before the election. Some personnel are posted, but otherwise, if we talk about the entire deployment, 406 companies of Central Armed Paramilitary Forces. One company is about 150 men, so if you do the math, that's over 60,000 men have been posted at different polling stations here in West Bengal for this particular phase. There's West Bengal Armed Police and the regular police as well, so the numbers are huge. You can easily double or more that number in terms of the kind of security that is required. But even in the panchayat polls, which I mentioned, the three-tier ones, there were 55 people who were killed last year, and a majority of them were killed in Murshidabad and Jangipur, which have a history of violence, which so far has not really been put down.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Amritpal Singh, Meghna Dev and Gautam Roy for joining us at this time. Campaigning for the 4th phase of Lok Sabha elections scheduled for May 13 has gained momentum as the political leaders are holding rallies and road shows across the country in order to garner support of the voters in favor of the party's candidate. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Odisha this morning and will be going to Andhra Pradesh later in the day. The Prime Minister held a rally in Odisha's Behrampur, where he exuded confidence that the BJP will win the elections and will emerge with new hope for the people of the state.
ओडिशा में बीजेडी अस्त है, कांग्रेस पस्त है और लोग बीजेपी पर आश्वस्त है और सिर्फ भाजपा उम्मीदों का नया सूरज बनकर आई है.
The Prime Minister also addressed a rally in Nabarangpur, which is in Odisha, where he talked about his government's commitment to root out corruption through direct benefit transfer to the people.
मोदी ने जनधन खातों, आधार और मोबाइल की ऐसी त्रिशक्ति बनाई कि गरीबों का पैसा लूटना बंद हो गया. अब घर बनाने का पैसा सीधा आपके खाते में, गैस का पैसा सीधा आपके खाते में, मनरेगा का पैसा सीधा आपके खाते में, किसान सम्मान निधि का पैसा सीधा आपके खाते में. यानी सबको लाभ, सीधा लाभ, कोई भेदभाव नहीं. और ये मोदी की गारंटी है.
Later in the day, the Prime Minister will be holding rallies in Andhra Pradesh's Rajmundry and Anakapalli. And with campaigning reaching its zenith for the subsequent phases of this general election, the Home Minister of India has held a roadshow in Krishnanagar in West Bengal in support of the BJP candidate Amrita Roy. Crowds of people could be seen as the roadshow traversed through the lanes and by-lanes of Krishnanagar, located in Nadia district of West Bengal. Later, Amit Shah addressed a rally in Durgapur, where he called on the people to vote for Prime Minister Narendra Modi and what he signifies for the country.
नरेंद्र मोदी जी को तीसरी बार प्रधानमंत्री बनाने का मतलब है देश के अर्थतंत्र को दुनिया में तीसरे नंबर पर पहुंचाने का काम करना। नरेंद्र मोदी को तीसरी बार प्रधानमंत्री बनाने का मतलब है देश में से आतंकवाद और नक्सलवाद को समाप्त कर देना। 3 करोड़ गरीब बहनों को लखपति दीदी बनाना।
In order to garner support for the party's candidates, the political parties have geared up their campaigning to reach out to the voters. And the Congress leader Rahul Gandhi addressed a rally in Ratlam, which is in the central Indian state of Madhya Pradesh, where he categorically talked about holding caste census if voted to power.
हमने निर्णय लिया है कि हम जाति जनगणना करने जा रहे हैं। जाति जनगणना से आपको पता लग जाएगा कि आपकी आबादी कितनी है और देश की संस्थाओं में आपकी भागीदारी कितनी है। इकोनॉमिक सर्वे होगा और सबको पता लग जाएगा कि इतने % आदिवासी हैं, इतना धन उनके हाथ में है, इतनी संस्थाओं में उनके लोग हैं। ये क्रांतिकारी काम है। इससे हिंदुस्तान की राजनीतिक बदलने जा रही है और हम ये आपके लिए करने जा रहे हैं।
The Samajwadi Party Supremo Akhilesh Yadav will hold rallies in Uttar Pradesh's Kannauj. The Chief Minister of West Bengal, Mamata Banerjee, will hold rallies in her state. She will be holding a rally in Birbhum and Durgapur. Meanwhile, the Congress leader Kanhaiya Kumar, who is contesting the Northeast Delhi constituency, filed his nomination papers. Voting in Delhi is scheduled for May 25, which is the 6th phase of this general election. The Enforcement Directorate raided Jharkhand's Minister Alamgir Alam's personal secretary Sanjeev Lal's house. They seized cash worth 200 million to 300 million rupees from his house help. And more cash recovery is also expected as counting machines are being brought in. The amount was largely in the denomination of 500 rupee notes, and some jewelry also was recovered. The Congress leader Alamgir Alam is Jharkhand's Rural Development Minister and represents the Pakur seat in the State Assembly. The raids are in connection with an ongoing investigation into a money laundering case against Vijendra Ram, who was former the chief engineer of the Jharkhand rural area. As the operation to catch down terrorists behind the attack on the Indian Army's convoy in Jammu and Kashmir's Poonch district has entered day 3 on Monday. Now, the security forces have released sketches of 2 terrorists believed to be behind this attack, with a bounty of 2 million rupees. The search operation is underway that aims to track down the terrorists who are responsible for the attack and to ensure the safety of civilians in the region. The Indian Air Force's Corporal Vicky Pahade was martyred in the ambush, and 4 other personnel were injured when terrorists attacked an Indian Air Force convoy near Shah Sitar, which is in Poonch, happening Saturday evening. Some more stories making the news. In a tragic incident, a child was found dead and another 2 were critically injured in a mysterious blast in West Bengal's Hooghly district on Monday. The injured were admitted to a hospital immediately. The blast occurred at a spot where the children were playing. The police have initiated an investigation into this case. The Council for the Indian School Certificate Examinations have declared the results for the Class 10 and Class 12 examinations on Monday. The passing percentage for the academic year 2023-24 stood at 99.47% in Class 10 and 98.19% in Class 12. Girls have done much better than boys in both examinations. Still to come on DD India News Hour. The noted economist Surjit Balla says that around 10 million jobs have been created in India over the last 7 to 8 years. Andrey Rublev has won the Madrid Open.
Team Poll Pulse has reached Ahmedabad. Gujarat is BJP's bastion, home turf of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. All eyes are on whether the BJP can have a hat-trick in 2024.
It will be much better when अगर हमें जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटी अहमदाबाद में ही मिल जाए.
हम लेडीज़ है तो हम कभी भी रात को 12 बजे भी अगर जॉब के हिसाब से घर जाए तो हमको लगना चाहिए कि नहीं हम पूरे सेफ कंट्री में रह रहे हैं.
Join us as we track the pulse of Indian democracy.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibility. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday 8 p.m. only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. On an average basis, an unprecedented number of jobs have been created under the government in the last 7 to 8 years. The former India Executive Director of the IMF, Surjit Balla, has said that never before in Indian history have so many jobs been created on an average basis, something close to 10 million jobs over the last 7 to 8 years. Balla further said that at least the number of jobs were created, the least number of jobs, in fact, were created during the 2004 to 2013, and it was then that the term jobless growth had come into existence. Domestic stock market indices began Monday's trading session positively, buoyed by global market optimism. The market positivity persisted into the afternoon session, with the Sensex rising 120 points to 74,000 points, while the Nifty increased by 5 points to 22,480 points. Of the total shares traded, 1,273 advanced, 2,533 declined, and 173 remained unchanged. Asian equities surged to their highest levels in more than a year on Monday as investors renewed their expectations for the Federal Reserve to potentially lower interest rates this year. MSCI's broadest index for Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan reached its highest point since February 2023 with a gain of 0.53%, while China's blue chip index surged by 1.5%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng, which has recorded its longest daily winning streak since 2018 last week, with 4.7% increase, experienced a slight decline of 0.1%. Meanwhile, the yen weakened following a significant rally last week, declining by 0.6% to 153.93 per dollar after briefly slipping below the 154 mark earlier in the session. In Bangladesh, double-digit inflation has decreased the purchasing power of the marginal middle class and the lower middle class, said Dr. Debapriya Bhattacharya, who is a distinguished fellow of the Centre for Policy Dialogue, presenting a survey titled New Government, National Budget and Citizens' Aspirations. He highlighted that unlike other South Asian countries where inflation has eased, Bangladesh continues to grapple with persistent inflationary situation, leaving citizens struggling to manage family expenses for the past 2 years. And now let's get you the sports news, and for that we have with us Abhishek. Over to you, Abhishek.
Thank you, Mark. Lots coming in sports. We'll start with the big news in sports. The India women's and men's 4x400 meter relay team has qualified for the upcoming Paris Olympics. to be played from July. Indian women's 4x400 meter relay team of Rupal Chaudhary, Jyotika Sridandi, Raju Machetera Puvama and Subha Venkatesan finished second in qualification, just behind Jamaica to finish in 3 minutes and 29.35 seconds. Later, men's squad of Mohammad Anas Yahya, Mohammad Ajmal, Arokia, Rajiv and Amol Jacob finished with a collective timing of 3 minutes and 3.23 seconds. They finished their heat behind USA in Olympics qualification round 2 and they have won a ticket to Paris. India now boasts 19 track and field athletes for Paris. Shifting focus to IPL now, Mumbai will take on Sunrisers Hyderabad in the 55th match of Indian Premier League 2024 at Wankhede Stadium on Monday. SRH will be aiming to strengthen their position in the league standings with 12 points from 10 matches, including 6 wins and 4 losses. SRH is currently placed 4th on the points table and is eager to deliver a comprehensive performance, particularly focusing on the bowling unit. Mumbai Indians, on the other hand, will be hoping to end its 4-match losing streak after being in a slump. Meanwhile, Kolkata Knight Riders thrashed Lucknow Super Giants on Sunday by 98 runs in the Indian Premier League 2024. From cricket to tennis, now Andrey Rublev overcame an opening set wobble to beat Felix Auger-Aliassime in the final of Madrid Open on Sunday to win his second Masters 1000 title. Auger-Aliassime had moved into the final when 3 of his 5 opponents in Madrid gave him walkovers, including top seed Yannick Sinner, who pulled out with an injury before their quarter-final clash. Meanwhile, 26-year-old Rublev had come into the tournament in Madrid in poor form, having lost his previous 4 matches on the tour, but dropped only 2 sets en route to the title. All right, that's all we have in sports stories. Back to you, Mark.
Thanks a lot, Abhishek. And, following an old Easter tradition dating back to the 1800s, the night sky of the Greek island of Chios, it was filled with streams of rockets filling the sky. The preparations for these rockets start months before the event. The tradition restarted, in fact, in 2023 after a 2-year pause because of the pandemic. Orthodox Easter was celebrated on Sunday. And that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those of you on the go, you can get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on your screen and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn and with me is Abhishek Mahajan. And from all of us here in Delhi, thanks very much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.